So actually, let me start from the beginning here. So yeah, thank you, David. And today we're going to talk about the technical recruiters, choosing one that's really worth your time. So here's the slide that I probably should have sent to David in advance. Sorry about that, man. And the bit.ly that we're going to use tonight, and I'll put it in the chat shortly too, because bit.ly is case sensitive if somebody else wants to put it in there. But we are going to be giving away a lot of prizes. Why? Because I really like this group. And I'm speaking here tonight, but I'll tell you what we're going to do tonight, which is something we don't normally do. To make it a little bit different. We are going to, first of all, David is going to give away some of the, oh my gosh, Circuit Express playgrounds. He's going to give 2 away those tonight. And I say that we're going to give away 2 t-shirts, but no, anyone that actually enters the Nintendo Switch raffle from this group gets a t-shirt. So now what else is on this page, you're also going to be able to find tonight's slides. Eventually, I'll put the video link to this presentation. And also, I'm going to talk very quickly tonight in the time we have. And the talking point sources are going to be on there as well. So if anything doesn't sound right, I'll show you my source. And if I'm still wrong, I want you to call me out on it. And I will be happy to make those changes. So anyway, just really an honor and a privilege to be a sponsor for San Diego Python. I really love how your community shines through on a virtual level. It makes me feel comfortable, and I believe everyone else that comes around as well. So who am I? I am the meetup event manager for JFrog. Prior to doing this, I was in the technical recruiting industry for 23 years. I started as a technical recruiter and finished as a chief recruiting officer for the same company in Atlanta, Georgia, up until about August of last year. I am a Python newbie. I actually signed up for EduX course, and I'm taking the Microsoft course, though I have to say I'm not happy with the Jupyter notebooks rather. I don't know, for some reason, that kernel, I have to constantly restart it in order to get the cells to go. Maybe someone can tell me how to do that better. And I'm also, apparently the most interesting thing about me is I'm the father of many. I have 7 children, and they're pretty awesome. And I typically get more questions about them than about my talk. But if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer that as well. So tonight I'm going to talk to you just initially about Python. And what I'm going to talk to you about is I want to make you all feel really good. For those of you who are Python developers and are already pretty happy, or maybe you're having a bad run or some sort, I want to make you feel better tonight initially. So let's talk about the job market. Before COVID-19, unemployment in February was 3.5%. That was like one of the lowest of all time, if not the lowest. I think it was 3.4 once. But May of 2019, CompTIA noted that the IT unemployment rate was 1.3%. What a time in our marketplace to be leveraging your skill set into new skills. So when the unemployment's low and the skill set is just not there, that's when technologists like yourself have the most opportunity to upskill and learn some really, really great things. So this is where I want to start about making you feel good. You have the best job according to the US News and World Report for 2020. Every year they come out with the 100 best jobs, and software developer is the best job. Now, it's not just based on compensation. In fact, there's anesthesiologists who make $400,000 on this list on average. But they didn't get the top spot. It's based on median salary, work-life balance, unemployment rate, stress level, future job prospects, growth potential. But right now, you may not know it, but you have the #1 job in America if you're a software engineer and doing that for a living right now. So good choice there. Another good choice, San Diego. Let's talk about San Diego for a moment. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the DICE.
The audio got cut off there. Is that just me? Oh, sorry, you're back.
Okay. DICE Holdings does some great research on the market. So what you'll find from DICE is that San Diego, when they did their poll, ranked #3 in terms of annual income for IT. So it's a great market. with great compensation levels, and you're up there, as well as being in a market which is growing. And I'm not sure if you've heard of the CBRE, but the CBRE is a commercial real estate company that does a tech score every year. San Diego ranked number 18 in that tech score in North America in terms of the top tech markets. And the reason for that is based on a lot of things. It's the industries that you have, but also the growth potential, the number of graduates in the area. There's a lot of different criteria. But if you go to the show notes page where that bit.ly is, you're going to see some really great information in that there as well, with all the links that you can and all the research you could possibly want related to this. So you guys have done a great job, great city. Oops, sorry. Oops. Why did I do that? That was not wise. I actually hit the back button. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So what does this mean for Python developers when all said and done? Well, first of all, let's look at where Python's been ranking right now on these major indexes. If you may be familiar with the TIOBE index, but this is in terms of popularity, Python is the third most popular language behind C and Java in terms of languages. Now, this TIOBE index is not necessarily the best language, but it's the most popular language on 25 select search engines, with a bunch of other criteria associated with it. But it's considered a good source as it relates to the popularity of a language. Another one, it's the #1 ranked language on the People Index. This is based on tutorial searches. So people who are looking to learn a software language, this Python comes up more than any other search. It was the second most loved programming language on Stack Overflow, but man, TypeScript knocked it out of second place last month. And right now, Rust, for 4 or 5 years running, is the most loved programming language. So anyway, we can still get there, but at the same time, that's where we're ranking, obviously, very, very high. And also, we're the second most popular language for GitHub repository. It relates to the last Octoverse report too. So needless to say, Python is extremely popular. So let's summarize. You have a top job in a top metro area with a top median IT salary, and top skill set, which means technical recruiters are looking for you, and you have like this big target on your chest, and you probably experience, as a result of that, major noise overflow from LinkedIn. If you are updating your skills on LinkedIn and actually keeping your resume up to date, and that means you're going to just get tons and tons of more opportunities in contact from recruiters. Your email is probably like overflowing unless you have a good spam filter, and your voicemail and text messaging is probably going mad, and there's a lot of noise related to this. So the question comes into play is there any value in working with a recruiter? Now, I'm not going to, there's negatives and there's positives in working with the recruiters in general. I think some people have had really, really great experiences, and I think some people have had some experiences they wish they didn't have. As just like any profession, not everyone is created equal. But when you have that much noise taking place, and I'm going to go under the assumption that most of you are probably getting, on average, 5 to 10 reach outs a week. And I think that's probably, I don't know. I think that sounds, I'm not sure if that sounds like too many. But if you're a known Python developer, chances are you're getting that many reach outs. So the question is, how do you weed through all the information? You're getting a lot of emails. They all look the same. Everyone has your dream job. Everyone has the best pay. Everyone has competitive benefits. Well, how do you choose which recruiter to work with when there's a lot of noise like that? So I'm going to give you 4 tips and see if this helps you in terms of being able to weed out some of the recruiters that reach out to you. First of all, when you first start looking for an opportunity, one of the best things to do is, a lot of us are asking friends if their companies are hiring, and that's pretty normal. In fact, when you come out to events like this, I know David already mentioned, for people who may have companies that are hiring, but ask a Python colleague which recruiter from an agency they may have had a really good opportunity, success with, because first of all, a recruiter with an agency is motivated to place somebody, but the best source of candidates is considered referrals for them. So a lot of times you'll leave voicemails and emails for a company, and you're great for the job, and you may not hear back, and you may fall into a black hole. But when you have a referral from one of your colleagues, that's usually the best thing to do, and usually you'll get the best treatment as a result, because those types of relationships for me as a recruiter are always the most golden. Screen your emails and voicemails, and you're probably doing this already. And if I get, typically the way it looks like is this: if you're getting a bunch of generic job descriptions that have that want you to have 12 skills on a list of 12 skills, when there's and you can clearly see that the person who wrote the description has no idea what a programmer does, you just want to kind of delete that and just get it out of the way. But when you see an email that has a well thought out job description that's actually targeted to you, and it's clear why the person sent you the information, maybe they made reference to your GitHub repositories, maybe they noted something else about you as a professional, that usually means you're working with somebody who's more engaged with the recruiting process than the typical mass phone calls you get. So I would recommend that you screen the emails, listen to the voicemails. You don't have to call everybody back, because you don't have enough time for that. You're working, but you may not even be looking for a job. But you have to also consider the fact that somebody truly may have that perfect opportunity for you, based on maybe an industry or specific experience that you had. Maybe you're a developer now and it's an architecture role based on some expertise that you just recently gained experience with. If somebody points those things out to you, then it may be worth at least having a conversation, and build that relationship for maybe when you do need to or want to make that next move. Here's a new one. This is, recruiters are going to call you and they're going to ask you all these personal questions. They are going to ask you about some of them. You can always tell the least experienced recruiter who wants to get down to money within the first 25 seconds of the conversation. That's usually not a good sign. It's not a bad thing, because we all need to make money, but there are so many components to an opportunity. Even for contract opportunities, there's a lot of components. A consultant doesn't just want any contract. They want a consulting opportunity that they're going to be able to leverage for their next consulting opportunity and grow in their skill set. And the same for full-time positions. So you really want to look at lots of other components besides, and plus the things that are most important to you are not necessarily what's most important to everybody else. So the recruiter should be taking that into account. But some good questions to ask them would be, how many Python engineers have you placed in the last 2 years? How many placements have you made with a company you called me about? Are they just taking your resume and marketing you somewhere and they know they use Python at that company? That's probably not a good representative for you to work with. Does your company, asking them if their company has a good relationship with the hiring manager? Recruiting companies get paid a lot of money for a reason. And that's because their marketing teams are paid dearly to make sure that they build the relationship with the hiring manager. And sometimes they get those exclusive opportunities that nobody else actually has. So if somebody can show they have that type of relationship, it's probably good to be connected to somebody who has that ability to find people some great careers. And also asking them what they can tell you about the software engineering market in San Diego. If they don't understand the market, if they clearly don't know the Python operations in town, and they can't speak intelligently about IT to some level of degree, they don't have to program. I certainly can't program, even though I'm still working through functions. But I mean, still, it's something that you want to be able to have a conversation. And it's not so much that they have the answers that are right or wrong, but it's how they answer the question. Are you talking to somebody that clearly has a passion for what they're doing, just like you have a passion for what you're doing? How do I know? Because you're here tonight and you're not binging on Netflix when you can be learning more about your craft. You want a recruiter that has that same passion that's going to work hard for you. So interview the recruiter and make sure that you're comfortable being represented in that fashion. And this one is fairly basic, but I think that looking at LinkedIn recommendations is really important too. Any recruiter that's had any success typically will have some recommendations on their LinkedIn profile. This is Michael. I placed Michael 5 times. He's really awesome. Over the course of 20 years, it was always, and I still stay in touch with him now that I'm not in recruiting anymore. But again, having those recommendations, recruiters should have those just like you should as well. So again, people sometimes, you can tell when some of these are kind of made up a little bit on somebody's LinkedIn profile. But the fact of the matter is that you can tell when they're legit. And looking at how they perform for others is usually a good indicator of how they will perform for you. So there's my lightning talk tonight. I wanted to see if anybody, again, we have lots of prizes. We're going to give away a Nintendo Switch drawing at the end of June. It's a Nintendo Switch Lite, actually. And we're going to give away an Animal Crossing game as well. And we're also going to give away some t-shirts to everybody that signs in for this tonight. I'm going to contact you for your email address. So all you have to do is enter this contest and you get a t-shirt. But does anyone have any questions for me about anything I shared tonight? Or even if it's something related to technical careers that you've been wanting to know about that I didn't share?
There is a question in chat from Jose Guevara. How do tech recruiters make money? Do they make more money if the person being recruited agrees to a smaller salary?
Can you repeat the last part of that question? I missed that. One more time.
Certainly.
Do they make more money if
the person being recruited agrees to a smaller salary?
Actually, if for salaried full-time positions, it's the exact opposite. The recruiter, if I used to tell people that if I could get you $1 million for a salary, they would actually put a statue of me in the in my office. Why? Because recruiting companies get paid a percentage of your annual salary. So if you got $1 million, typically the average fee, depending on the job market, is 20%. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little bit more, depending on the specialty. For contract opportunities, that's where it can get a little bit. There is a chance that a recruiter could try to lower the contract rate and make more of a margin. But the most important thing that I recommend to professionals that work on a contract basis is know your market, get yourself a good, solid market rate for your skill set, and then let the recruiter work on getting the rate from their client. But typically, no, the recruiter's not going to make more, especially in full-time positions. But for the contract opportunities, that's where you have to negotiate appropriately and know what you're worth, and don't take less than what you're worth in those types of situations. I hope that answered your question. Anybody else?
There's another question in chat, and this is Assis says, this may be a long shot, but do you have any word of advice for an entry-level Python developer based on your experience?
I do. A lot of times building your portfolio of work is more important now than ever. Because there are a number of people looking to learn Python, as we saw in the people index, is very, very high. I'm trying to learn it, and that's but just because I've always wanted to learn and try, but that's not going to be necessarily, at least at this point, a career choice for me. But for an entry-level Python developer, there's a lot of competition. So how do you differentiate yourself? Start looking building a GitHub repository based on some of the projects that you're building. Keep coming out to events like this, and start documenting your project work for building a resume. Even if you don't have professional experience yet, your project work is definitely going to be something that you'll want to highlight. And when managers, the most important things they say when they're looking to hire somebody, and some of you might be managers here tonight and you can attest to this, is that they're looking for an enthusiasm. versus tons and tons of experience. And they feel that if somebody's enthusiastic and motivated and show they have a basic foundational knowledge of, maybe you applied PEP 8 standards to your coding practice and it's shown on GitHub, they're going to see that your standard of coding is going to actually fit well in their environment, and that's when you'll get that interview and that opportunity. Hope that helps. It's not always easy to get that first jump in there, but it's definitely setting yourself up for success for sure. You can email me if you have any more questions. Anybody else?